Hello and welcome to the session on current affairs analysis. We'll be dealing with the current affairs in the second week of October from 9th to 15th. So before we begin, I'd like to give you a short introduction of what this video series is going to be about. We are mainly looking at UPSC aspirants because we know the supreme importance of current affairs for UPSC. Anybody with a keen interest in current affairs is also welcome to watch. In order to crack the exam, we need to analyze the news. We have to understand what exactly are the points that need to be retained and how to use them. We'll help you in the above process and arm you with the knowledge that is required to tackle and conquer UPSC. So, what are the sources for our articles? We are looking at the standard newspapers, Hindu, Indian Express, PIB, DNA and Livemint. For this webinar, these are the sources. Before we delve into our news articles, I will give you a brief overview of the analysis framework that we are going to be using. So, we all know there is a lot of news that is out there. Every 2 minutes we see some breaking news. So we can't break our heads over each and every breaking news. We need to know which are the news that is important for UPSC. That is many students waste a lot of their time in reading unnecessary news and it is of no importance. So identification of the news is a skill. It is an art that is acquired over a period of time. Anybody who's just starting off with their preparation will definitely find it difficult. And I'm sure if anyone has newly picked up any edition of Hindu, you'll take at least 2 hours to understand half of the language and jargon that is there in it. So here's where we will help you. We can easily identify what are the issues which are important. So we are going to make your process of preparation easier. Once we identify which are the important news to focus on, we have to understand what exactly is the issue all about. We need to have an understanding of the issue at hand. Is there any background to that issue? Once we understand the issue and the background, we have a base. We need to build on top of that base. This is where analysis and linkages come into play. So we have to analyze that piece of news, see how we can link it to various parts of the syllabus. Once all this is done, your news is analyzed, you have the background, you have the complete picture. But without revision, without identifying the facts to remember, all this will be of no use. You have to make notes, you have to revise and see that you pick up only the important facts and don't go about remembering minute percentages. It will be of no use. You're just wasting your time and trying to memorize unnecessary facts. You have to know what are the important facts to remember. Again, we'll be helping you here by identifying and highlighting which facts you have to remember and how exactly you can use them for your prelims as well as mains and interview. With this brief introduction, let us dive into our news analysis. So this is a fun slide. You might have heard about the movie Kabali, and this is a take on the hottest news for 9th to 15th, the Kigali Pact. So that is going to be our first item on the agenda for the day. So what is this Kigali Pact all about? The Kigali Pact is an amendment to the Montreal Protocol at the 28th meeting of parties. It is a pledge by the nations to phase down on the emissions of HFCs. So this is a statement I'm sure all of you would have seen across papers. So we need to pick up what to see from these statements, understand each and every line of it. So as you can see, Montreal Protocol features broadly in this. So what exactly is the Montreal Protocol? The Montreal Protocol was signed in 1989 to cut down on the emissions of ozone depleting gases like CFCs and freons majorly. So CFCs stands for chlorofluorocarbons. These gases, when they react with the ozone molecule, they destroy the molecule, and we all know the importance of the ozone layer. The Montreal Protocol is essential in helping protect the ozone layer. I would advise you to use this framework and build a similar analysis for the Montreal Protocol. I've just given you a one-line introduction of what exactly it is. There are many other detailed information about Montreal Protocol which you need to know. So please perform a similar analysis for Montreal Protocol. Now, let us get into the analysis part. Let us get into the details. So Kigali is a name of a place. So whenever you come across any name of a place, please make it a point to look it up in the atlas. Kigali is the capital of Rwanda. So you have to look at the political map as well as the physical map. In the political map, you look at the immediate neighbors and see if there is any issue that pops out. So this is something that will be developed over a period of time. For people who are just starting off, have a look at the political map and know who are the immediate neighbors of Rwanda. Now switch to the physical map. See if there are any important lakes or any rivers or mountains. Important means they will be present in the physical map. So just have a look at that. And another major thing that you need to do is see if there are any important latitudes or longitudes that are passing through this. So if by taking a customary glance, you might think, okay, this Rwanda is close to the equator. Maybe equator passes through Rwanda, but no, equator does not pass through Rwanda or Kigali. So HFCs are nothing but hydrofluorocarbons. They are used mainly in air conditioning, refrigeration, and the insulation industry. They enter the atmosphere when refrigerators or air conditioners leak, or when similar cooling equipment is destroyed. So why are they of sudden concern right now? It is said that HFCs have far more global warming potential than carbon dioxide. That means, for example, 1 kg of a gas called HFC-23 has almost 12,000 times higher global warming potential than 1 kg of carbon dioxide. So global warming potential is nothing but the heat trapping capacity, the potential to trap heat in the atmosphere. Okay, so once we are clear about what is the need or requirement for Kigali Pact, it is to help combat climate change and keep the rise in temperature within reasonable levels. So another statement that has been made by the declaration of Kigali Pact is that by cutting down on the emissions of HFCs by 90%, we can help prevent a rise of 0.5 degrees Celsius by 2050. So this is a very nice fact that you can use to quote in answers in GS paper 3 or as fodder for essays. So you can help bring down emissions by 90% and hence a potential rise of 0.5 degrees Celsius by 2050. 0.5 degrees Celsius is a huge change in temperature. Okay, so this Kigali Pact is pretty important in that way. Next, we look at whenever there is any pact, we have to look at the targets of that pact. So in the case of Kigali Pact, there are 3 schedules. The countries are divided into 3 schedules. The developed nations like Europe and USA will reduce their HFCs by 85% by 2036 over the baseline figures of 2011-13. So what exactly does this baseline figure mean? So this is extremely factual information, but since this Kigali Pact is of extreme importance and there is a huge chance of aspirants getting confused over these schedules and the targets for developing countries, it is better if one has a fairly decent idea about these facts, which is why I'll be repeating them again and stressing on them. So the targets for Europe and USA are a reduction in HFCs by 85% by 2036 over the baseline figures of 2011-13. So baseline figure of 2011-13 means the amount of HFCs that USA and Europe were emitting in 2011-13. Let us say it was 100 gigatons. So by 2036, they will reduce it by 85%, which means in 2036, if they measure the amount of HFCs they will be emitting, it will be only, they'll try to limit it to 15 gigatons. That is, there is a reduction in 85%. So, next schedule is China. China has committed that it will reduce HFCs by 80% by 2045 over its baseline years of 2020 to 22. China will reduce by 80% by 2045 over its baseline years of 2020 to 2022. Now, India has agreed to reduce HFCs by 85% by 2047 over the baseline years of 2024-26. That means India can increase its maximum HFC use by 2024-26. It will have an additional 2 years during which it can maintain the peak levels of HFCs or start gradually phasing them down. So by 2028, we have to start our reductions. Then this will use the average of 2023, 24 and 2025, 26 as our baselines. So what this is basically providing is India has almost a decade that will help to plan its policies and help the industries to look for suitable and viable alternatives. So why are there 3 schedules? Why are there different targets for developing countries and developed countries? Here comes in the principle of CBDR-RC. CBDR-RC stands for Common but Differentiated Responsibilities and Respective Capabilities. So let's look at this in the context of USA and India. USA, being a developed country, has huge financial and technical capabilities to phase down these greenhouse gases immediately. But India is a developing country. We are still struggling to find finances to meet our basic requirements for a majority of our population. Hence, we cannot commit to financial or technological investments that is required that the USA can. This is the basic principle that is underlying CBDR and RC. We will try to do whatever we can according to our capabilities, and developed countries like USA generally pledge that they will assist developing countries like India in order to meet their targets. We look into whether this pact is legally binding or whether it requires any ratification. The Kigali Pact is legally binding and it will come into force from 1st January 2019. So legally binding means the countries are bound to follow whatever they have promised in this pact. So what is India's plan of action in this whole context? So India has, as I have mentioned, I'll repeat it again so that you remember these facts and note it down. India has agreed to reduce HFCs by 85% by 2047 over its baseline years of 2024 to 2026. So 85%, 2047, baseline years of 2024-26. So these are the important facts that you have to remember. So I hope this whole Kigali Pact is clear. Now, what are the facts to remember is what exactly is this Kigali Pact? What are HFCs? Where are they used? Then major outcomes of the Kigali Pact. India's targets and plan to achieve them. Please go through the Montreal Protocol, UNFCCC and Paris Pact as well. Environment is a very hot topic with UPSC over the past 3 years, and we are seeing that many questions are asked. You can also use these points intelligently in your GS paper 3 and essay as well. So whenever you're given any protocol, convention, pact, you can use this framework to analyze it and find out what are the facts to remember and how you can use it. So you'll just focus on what is the protocol, what is the background, whether it has any geographical significance, what is the requirement for that protocol in the current scenario, what are the major targets of it, what are the principles behind the protocol, whether it is legally binding, how is it going to be ratified, and India's role in all of it. So I hope this Kigali Pact is clear. Let us move on to our next topic, the Amur Falcon. So you might be wondering, why is this Amur Falcon important? Any species or which is in the news that has been reported as threatened or which is regularly recurring in the news has the potential to be asked as a prelims question. The Amur Falcon is a special case. You can also quote it in your essay or ethics paper as well. That why you can use it in that way will be clear at the end of my explanation. So whenever you come to any species, please focus on what is the type of the species. So Amur Falcon is a small raptor. So what is a raptor? A raptor is a bird of prey. It preys on other animals or species for feeding itself. What is its scientific name? Falco amurensis. It's pretty clear. You can see Amur Falcon, Falco amurensis. So it's just a matter of common sense. Then IUCN status. This is of extreme importance. If you do not know what IUCN status means, I would suggest you to please log in to Google, type out IUCN and check what it is. IUCN categorizes species into 8 different categories. Please make a note of all these categories and what do they mean. So IUCN status of Amur Falcon currently is least concern. Then what is the significance of this species? So this Amur Falcon is a brilliant bird. It nests or breeds in Central Asia near Mongolia. From there, it is also a migratory bird. It migrates all the way to northeast India. It rests for a while there. It crosses the Indian subcontinent, flies over the Indian Ocean and reaches eastern Africa, where it migrates, where it stays during the winter season. Then after post the completion of the winter season, it migrates all the way back to Central Asia. So in this circular path, it completes a total distance of 22,000 kilometers. The small bird, hardly weighing 150 to 200 grams, completes this whole path over a period of 10 days. Why is this important? Have there been any significant conservation efforts? Yes. So the Amur Falcon, when it came to India, northeastern India, there was an NGO called Conservation India that reported mass culling of these birds. Hundreds of thousands of Amur falcons used to be killed by the people of northeastern India and sold as meat. So despite the issuance of orders of the district collectors, this process was still carried on, as India is a signatory to the Convention on Migratory Species. So please look up the Convention of Migratory Species, follow the framework that I have mentioned in the previous slide and get an idea about this, as it is an important convention as well. That the Convention on Migratory Species mandates India to provide protection to species that via India in their path of migration. So India is duty bound to protect to offer protection to these Amur falcons. So once this NGO Conservation India identified the problem, then the government swung into action. It is a huge success story of conservation, community-based conservation efforts. So the district collectors, the NGOs, religious leaders, all of them came together and spoke to the people, informed them about the importance of the Amur falcon. They said that it should be preserved and protected instead of being hunted. This brought about a sea change in the attitude of the people, and the killings of the bird came down by a large extent. So we are clear about the importance of Amur falcon. I would also suggest you to focus on where exactly in northeastern India is this Amur falcon found. So it is the Vokha district in Nagaland. The Dayong Reservoir is where the people from Conservation International NGO observed the killing of these birds. and Tamenglong in Manipur. So these are the locations in India. So whenever you come across any species in the newspaper, please make similar points. Like, what is this animal type? What is its scientific name? What is its IUCN status? What is the significance of species? Is it a keystone species or not? Have there been any significant conservation efforts? Is there any convention related to it? And what are the locations in India where this species is found? So this will give you a very comprehensive idea of the species as well as enable you to answer any question in prelims easily. So generally species related questions are factual in nature. So make a note of this and revise regularly. So use visual cues like this in order to help you retain the facts better. So moving on, another very important piece of news is Himansh. Himansh literally means a slice of ice. It is a high altitude research center that has been set up near Spiti Valley in Himachal Pradesh by NCAOR, National Center for Antarctic and Ocean Research, in order to study the effects of climate change on glaciers. So in this one sentence, I have given the location, objectives, organization, and this last point is it works under the aegis of Ministry of Earth Sciences. So whenever you see any new research or any new organization that is being set up, first have a look at its location, be clear about its objectives, the organization that has established it, and any affiliations it has, whether it is working under any government ministry or is it related to any international organization. So let us quickly run through Himansh again. Location, Spiti Valley in Himachal Pradesh. Objectives, to study the impact of climate change on glaciers. What is the organization that has established it? It is NCAOR, National Center for Antarctic and Ocean Research. So any affiliations, it works under the aegis of Ministry of Earth Sciences. So why exactly do we need to study the impact of climate change on glaciers? As you know, the three major rivers of India, Ganga, Brahmaputra and Indus, have fed by glacial melt. So more than 40% of the discharge of Indus is fed by glacial melt. Around 10% of the discharge of Ganga and Brahmaputra is fed by a glacial melt. So the lives of the people who are dependent on the Indus is again dependent on how the Indus is fed. So you can see the linkage that is being made. So Himansh can be asked directly as a prelims question, or it can be asked in GS paper 3. Or you can quote it as the initiatives of the government in order to study the effects of climate change. So it can be used in multiple ways. Electric bandage by NASA. So this is something quite interesting, and please make a note of such inventions or discoveries which are coming. They have the potential to be asked directly in prelims. You can use it as fodder points for your essay, like innovations that science and technology help us innovate in so and so manner. So it is up to you to be creative on how to use this information, but you have to remember this for prelims. So what exactly is this electric bandage, or for that matter any new piece of technology that you see? Look into the applications of it, the basic technology. You don't need to go into the extreme details, just have a fair idea of what is the technology behind it and think about the materials that are used. So here this electric bandage is made out of an electroactive material. So what is this electroactive material? It is a material which at the gentlest pressure or touch, like if you touch it or even if you blow on it, electric charge is formed inside it. So this electric charge is used to help the process of healing. What are the materials used? NASA has used this material, polyvinylidene fluoride, PVDF. And what are the applications? So, like for example, military personnel or astronauts or cosmonauts who are in space, in case they are hurt, they do not have access to immediate medical help. So, using this electric bandage will help stave off infections or help control the bleeding. Next piece of news is solar cells using human hair as cathode. Here we need to focus on who has developed it and what is the significance. This has been developed by ICER, Kolkata, the Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research. What are the benefits of using human hair as cathode? It is metal free, hence it is cost effective and environmentally friendly. There is a rising demand for renewable energy. India is in a position geographically located between the tropics and it has great potential to harness solar energy. But one of the biggest drawbacks of solar energy is the high cost of installation. This cost can also be attributed to the use of traditional metals in cathode like platinum and activated carbon. So if we can use something as cheap as human hair as cathode, it will significantly help in cost reduction and help us switch over to solar energy faster. So how exactly can we use this human hair as cathode? A graphitic porous carbon cathode is produced, okay, from the human hair. How is this done? By treating the human hair with sulfuric acid and heating it to different temperatures. So this converts the human hair into a graphitic porous carbon cathode and equips it with similar electrical capabilities as traditional cathodes like platinum and activated carbon. Next, you must have seen in the news, cases of Japanese encephalitis are on the rise in Odisha. So whenever we see any disease, it is important that we make a note of it. UPSC has a great tendency to ask about diseases in prelims as well as mains. The last 2 years, you have seen that Zika, Ebola have been asked directly. These are the points that are required to be noted. The origin of the disease. What is the transmission cycle? The vector and the type of pathogen. What are the major symptoms of the disease? Is there any vaccine that is available for this disease? Preventive measures, and what is the distribution across the globe? So let us come to Japanese encephalitis. As the name itself is suggestive, the first case of Japanese encephalitis was recorded in Japan in 1871. So encephalitis means inflammation or swelling of the brain. So this is some disease that causes swelling of the brain. What is the transmission cycle? It is, as you can see in the picture, it is transmitted from pigs or water birds via a mosquito to humans. It can also be transmitted directly from the pigs or water birds to humans. The vector, in case if it is a mosquito, it is called a Culex mosquito. C-U-L-E-X, Culex mosquito. And the virus is called a flavivirus. So the flavivirus transmitted via Culex mosquito or pigs or water birds. So now we are clear about the transmission cycle, the vector and type of pathogen. Next, we will look into the symptoms. So initial symptoms are fever, headache and vomiting. It can also, any person affected with Japanese encephalitis can also exhibit neurological symptoms leading to movement disorders. Then seizures are very common among young children. So is there a vaccine that is available for this? Yes, this is a vaccine preventable disease. A point to be noted here is the vaccine for Japanese encephalitis has been incorporated in Mission Indradhanush. Those who do not know what Mission Indradhanush is, please go back and have a look at the mission Indradhanush. What are the diseases or vaccines that are covered under it? So what are the preventive measures? Working in close contact with pigs and water birds can expose you to this Japanese encephalitis virus. Maintaining hygiene, wearing full-sleeved clothes that cover your body can lessen your chances of getting Japanese encephalitis. A point to be noted is there is no human-to-human transmission, and humans cannot act as source for Japanese encephalitis. That is, a Culex mosquito, if it bites a person having Japanese encephalitis, cannot become a vector. So distribution across the globe. As you can see, mosquitoes, then pigs and water birds. So these are mainly concentrated to the tropical and subtropical areas. So the point here is try to make a logical analysis. Don't go trying to remember each and every place where this is found, South Asia, Southeast Asia, Pacifics. Try to map it to geography, see the kind of animals that are present and which climatic conditions would enable these animals to flourish and this virus to flourish. Try to make an intelligent linking so that you don't have so many facts to remember. Okay, I hope you're clear with how to analyze any disease when it comes in the newspaper. Next, moving on, reports. Reports are again extremely important. Direct questions can come from reports in the prelims, and using these facts and figures from reports will be of great value addition to your answers and help you fetch more marks. So whenever you see any report that is recurring twice or thrice in the newspaper, make sure that you note these points about it. Which organization releases this report? Directly questions can have come in UPSC prelims about who is releasing so and so report. So remember who releases the reports. What are the key parameters in reports? India's ranking in the report. This you can use to quote in your answers and essays if relevant. Then what is the relative status of other developing nations? So here, let us get into this Global Hunger Index report. So it is released by International Food Policy Research Institute. The International Food Policy Research Institute releases the Global Hunger Index report. It is an international organization and non-profit in nature. Okay. So this hunger index ranks countries based on 4 key parameters, that is undernourishment, child mortality, child wasting and child stunting. Child wasting is a new term, so I'd like to explain it with the help of an example. For example, there is any child who is of height 60 centimeters and it is prescribed that he is supposed to weigh 8 kgs. If that child is weighing like 4 kgs or 5 kgs, that child is said to be wasted. That is, he has low weight for his height. So child stunting means low height for age. If there is a 3-year-old child and it is recommended that he is supposed to be of 60 centimeters height, instead he is only 40 centimeters in height, then that child is said to be stunted. So I hope you're clear about the terms child wasting and child stunting. Next, the Global Hunger Index ranks countries on a 100-point scale. So 0 means best score. There is no hunger at all. And 100 is the worst. So practically speaking, 0 and 100 are pretty much impossible to. India's number is 28.5. It has remained constant. The 2016 report and the 2015 report states that India's number is 28.5. And among 118 countries, according to the latest 2016 report, India is ranked 97. Most of its neighbors, China, Nepal, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh rank better than India, except for Pakistan, which rank comes in at 107. This is a slight solace that we are doing slightly better than Pakistan. It also the hunger index also classifies the threat status, threat category of hunger in each country. India has been classified in the serious category. So if we zoom out a little and look at the world, as you can see in the map, Sub-Saharan Africa has the highest hunger levels, followed closely by South Asia. These numbers and figures are actually pretty interesting, and I would strongly advise you to go to the website ifpri.org and check out this map. It is an interactive map. The moment you click on any country, it is showing its score, and you can also analyze the trends of these key parameters. They have been presented in a very nice graphical format, and undernourishment, child mortality, child wasting, and child stunting has steadily been decreasing in case of India over the past couple of years. So if you can just draw this graph or quote these figures, imagine how good your answer will look. If your answer will completely stand apart from others, and it is guaranteed that you will gain more points. But please make sure that you quote them at relevant places. Just because you know these statistics, don't go about quoting them everywhere. Use these statistics and numbers with discretion. Professor K.S. Valdiya Committee findings on Saraswati River. Saraswati River has huge mythological significance in Hindu mythology, and there has always been this debate that it used to exist, it doesn't exist, etc. So the Union Ministry of Water Resources had appointed a committee headed by Professor K.S. Valdiya to find out whether the Saraswati River actually existed or not. So this committee has come to the conclusion that yes, the Saraswati River did exist. It had its origin at Adibadri in Himalayas. It had two branches, the eastern branch and western branch. The eastern branch consisted of the rivulets Saraswati and Markanda. I have listed down these names because they are difficult to note down. So you can note down directly from these slides, or you can take a screenshot of the slide. The western branch is called Ghaggar Patiala. So these two branches met at a place called Shatrana. The Saraswati River drained the states of Haryana, Rajasthan, and northern Gujarat, and it finally emptied into the Arabian Sea at the run of Kutch. So this is the entire summary of the report. This report also states that if we look into archaeological findings of the ancient civilizations like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, many of them are located along the prospective course of Saraswati. These civilizations were known to be located on the banks of rivers. So this is another point that you can add to your GS1 paper if required. So whenever you see any committee findings or reports, please focus on the major findings. It has been commissioned by which ministry, and in this case there is some historical and cultural significance of the Saraswati River. So please make a note of all these points. Moving on, we have the Operation Ginger and surgical strikes. This is a hot piece of news, and we have been hearing about this in the news over the past couple of days, how India has given tit for tat response for Pakistan for the Uri attacks. Please avoid using such language in the examination. Maintain a tone of neutrality. That I'll just give you a definition of what a surgical strike is. It is a military operation by the armed forces of a nation. It is a counter-terrorist or counter-insurgents activity. If you want to quote any examples of surgical strikes, I would say use the name Operation Ginger. So Operation Ginger is a safe example to quote for surgical strikes. You may also quote the latest surgical strike, but please avoid using um, emotional language. Be objective in nature. That is the only reason why I have picked this topic. Moving on. The Supreme Court widens the scope of the Domestic Violence Act of 2005. Whenever you see anything like the Supreme Court widens the scope of so and so act, the Supreme Court has made amendments, the Parliament has made amendments, focus on what are the amendments that are made, why are these amendments being made, and what is the background of the piece of legislation under consideration. Okay, so we'll look at the amendments made. The Supreme Court has struck down two words, adult, male. Then women and non-adults can be prosecuted for harassing a woman. Why exactly were these amendments made? There were many instances of women who were harassed by other family members, but the family members got away by quoting that the domestic violence covers only adult males, and hence, since they do not fall under that classification, they cannot be subjected to justice. That is why the Supreme Court struck down these names, so that any non-adult or non-male person can also be convicted for any act of domestic violence. So let us just take a brief look at what this Domestic Violence Act is. It had been primarily enacted to provide protection to the wife or even the female live-in partner from domestic violence at the hands of the husband or male live-in partner or his relatives. This is not just confined to the wife or a partner, it also extends to other women in the household like sisters or widows or mothers, etc. So this domestic violence includes actual abuse or threat of abuse. It can be physical, sexual, verbal, emotional, or economic in nature. So it has a wide ambit. Harassment by means of unlawful dowry demands are also covered under this definition. I hope that is clear now. Moving on. The Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu is hospitalized. This is another sensational news, and we have been hearing different rumors and how people are spreading wrong propaganda, etc., etc. All this is rubbish. It is of no use to UPSC. So why have we picked this topic? Whenever the Chief Minister is hospitalized, it means that he or she is incumbent. So somebody has to take care of his portfolios that are being handled by the Chief Minister and also look into the administration of the state. Here comes in Article 166 subclause 3. According to this, the governor can formulate rules for the smooth functioning of the executive machinery in the state. So the governor of Tamil Nadu has done exactly this, and he has handed over the portfolios of the Chief Minister to another cabinet member who is an elected representative. So just remember Article 166 subclause 3. Moving on, another contentious topic that has been in the news is the Uniform Civil Code. So again, here we will not get into controversial issues. We will just stick to the facts and be objective in our analysis. So what exactly is this Uniform Civil Code? What is its definition? Why is it currently in the news? So this Uniform Civil Code is a directive principle of the state policy. It comes under Article 44 of the Indian Constitution. It is a liberal intellectual principle that promotes the ideology of liberalism. It states that the state should strive to ensure uniform personal laws for people of all religions. So what exactly are personal laws? Personal laws are laws governing marriage, divorce, succession, etc. So Now we are clear about what exactly this Uniform Civil Code is about. It comes under Article 44 of the Indian Constitution. Please remember this article, as a previous UPSC mains question has directly been asked based on this article. So it is important to remember the number of this article. And it is also a liberal intellectual principle. Okay. So why exactly is this in the news? An affidavit has been filed by our central government with the Supreme Court stating that triple talaq is against gender equality and dignity of women. And also a questionnaire has been circulated by the Law Commission of India talking about the feasibility of implementing the Uniform Civil Code. So in the context of these two, this issue has come into the news again. So we are not going to get into the details of triple talaq right here. We are since the topic is quite expansive and requires at least 15 minutes of explanation. We are preparing a separate video on it and we will be posting it very soon. Please watch out for that. Please keep looking at our channel for updates on that. Again, I would request you not to get into using political language. Please maintain objectivity and rationality. Do not use any broad or sweeping statements against any particular faith, saying that their practices are oppressive or very regressive in nature. Identify the issues in that practice and say these are the practices that can be reformed from within. Please do not pass any sweeping or broad judgments against any religion. Moving on to the next topic, reorganization of districts in Telangana. So what are the pros and cons of reorganization of districts in the state? This can be a potential mains question. So we'll just quickly take a look at the facts. Telangana state performed a reorganization of districts. 20 new districts were added, taking the total number of districts to 31. So whenever any such reorganization is performed, the idea behind it should be to improve the ease of administration. The government should go to the common man. The common man should be able to access the services of the government in a simple and easy way. It should be accessible. The point is to enable better functioning of the government machinery. However, there should not be any political basis for the reorganization of districts. Also, a lot of additional infrastructure has to be in place in order to take care of the reorganization of districts, like the offices of revenue administrators, district collectors, etc. This will take some time. Reorganization has to be done keeping all these points in mind. Okay, I just listed out a few pros and cons. You are welcome to think about more and list these in the comment section below. Overcrowding of jails. The Supreme Court has highlighted, it has talked about the sad state of the prisoners of our country. According to a report released by NCRB, National Crime Records Bureau, there is a huge overcrowding of jails by 150% in the National Capital Region of Delhi and 6 other states. That means that there are so many prisoners who are being denied of their basic right to living a dignified life. Article 21 of the Constitution maintains that it is a fundamental right for everyone to have a dignified life, whether you are a prisoner or you are an outstanding citizen with high moral values. The Supreme Court has highlighted this time and again, and it has directed the government to come up with a set of rules on how to decongest these jails, like have more infrastructure and space. There is an urgent need for reforms in this area. So we can also analyze this a little more by looking at who are these people who are in the jails. The report states that over 2/3 of the people are under trials. 2/3 matlab 67% of these people are under trial. They haven't actually been convicted of their offense and they are languishing in jail. Poverty is one of the major reasons that people are unable to post any bail and hence they are being incarcerated whether they have been convicted of their crimes or not. This is a sad state of affairs. We can also think about the pendency of cases with the judiciary and also many judicial appointments that are not taking place on time, hence leading to an aggregation of cases. So these are some other relevant points that can be quoted. There is a section 436 of the CRPC which states that any under trial who completes more than half of the maximum sentence of the crime for which he has been sentenced can be released on a personal bond. That means many of these people, if they are made aware of the existence of this article, if they have completed half of their maximum sentence, they can be released. It can lead to further decongestion of jails. So this is a fact that has been highlighted by the Supreme Court. So please keep this in mind. You can use it at different points in GS paper 2 or in ethics or in your essays. Next, this is another news of importance. Plans to revive the NCTC, National Counter-Terrorism Center. So whenever there is any organization like this or any bureau that is being newly constructed or there is a plan on to revive it, you have to look into certain facts. What is this? What is the aim or major purpose of this bureau? Why is it being revived right now? Why was it shelved earlier? What is its composition? Will it be a state level body or a central body? And it will be working under which department or ministry? So I'll give you a brief history of this NCTC. Post the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks, the then Home Minister had suggested the setting up of this NCTC, National Counter-Terrorism Center, on the lines of a similar NCTC in the United States. It was basically to conduct counter-terrorism operations. And they'll be maintaining a database of all the possible terror suspects, etc. So it will be working at a federal level. However, at that point, many states opposed the setting up of this NCTC, say it will be imposing on the right of the states to carry out their policing actions by themselves. So this plan was shelved then. But given the rising number of rising incidences of terrorism, radicalization, cross-border terrorism, the center has proposed that let us revive this NCTC again, but we will tweak those areas of this which were unfavorable to the states earlier and implement it in a better manner. So which department or ministry, under which department or ministry will this NCTC be working? It was proposed that it will work under the Intelligence Bureau, which works under the aegis of Ministry of Home Affairs. However, this is not confirmed. So whenever you see that, okay, NCTC has been established, keep a track of which ministry or which agency it will be working under. Piece of news: industries petition government on inverted duty structure. So we need to understand what exactly is an inverted duty structure and why are the industries of India going to the government and asking them to please remove this inverted duty structure or create conditions more conducive for us. I'd like to explain this with the help of an example. All of you know about goods and goods that are imported into our economy. For example, there is a Levi's jeans that is being imported in India from China. Similarly, there is a local product called Patanjali jeans that is being manufactured in India. So the import duty, that is tax for importing the Levi's jeans, is fixed at 10%. This Patanjali jeans that is locally manufactured uses a certain product that needs to be imported from abroad. This product has a tax of 20 to 30%. Since this tax on this product is high, the entire cost of manufacturing Patanjali jeans in India goes up. When the cost of manufacturing goes up, it makes it less competitive with respect to the Levi's jeans that is coming in from China. So as a consumer, when you see that there is Patanjali jeans that is priced at 1500 rupees and a Levi's jeans that is priced at 1200 rupees and they are of similar quality, you would obviously go for the Levi's jeans. So this is affecting the local industry. So the next news item is India's first international arbitration center. Before we look into where this is located and why this has been set up, let us have an understanding of what is meant by the term arbitration. I'd like to give you an example. Suppose you and your neighbor are fighting over the height of your compound wall, but both of you are unable to resolve this dispute by yourselves, but you don't want to go to a court either, as you know it will be a long, drawn out and an expensive process. So you decide that you will choose a trustworthy person and agree to whatever judgment he is giving. So both of you approach the president of your colony's welfare association and you tell him that, okay, this is our problem. Please give us a solution and whatever verdict that you give, we will abide by it. So the president of your colony's welfare association plays the role of an arbitrator and this entire process is called as arbitration. This is a very local example and from this we can understand that arbitration is nothing but an extrajudicial process of settling of disputes. So when we zoom out a little bit and go to the global level, we see that there are huge conglomerates, corporates, industries, and they will obviously be working at an international level and they have to work within the frameworks of domestic laws of nations, international conventions. So there's a lot of complexity involved. Whenever there is any dispute between any two parties at such a high level, instead of going to courts and getting involved in a long drawn out battle, they prefer to go to arbitration centers. India as such did not have any international arbitration center that could be used by the corporates, and the first international arbitration center in India, the Mumbai Center for International Arbitration, has been set up in Mumbai just for this process. So the companies that are having operations in India can expect a speedy and a less expensive resolution of their disputes in the future. Okay, moving on, we see that there is a statement of Singapore's Prime Minister on Indian land laws being an impediment to FDI. So let us just look into what exactly he has said, what are the land acquisition processes in India and how it is affecting foreign investments. So basic statement of the Prime Minister was that India has to make some changes in its basic structures in order to facilitate FDI. He said this in the context of the complex process of land acquisition in India, and as we all know falls under the purview of a state subject, but land acquisition is on the residuary list. This means that a central framework of laws can be formed by the union government and the states have to follow this framework while implementing their own land acquisition laws. And we are all well aware that the land acquisition bill has been pending in the parliament for the past couple of years and there is a logjam over this. As a offset of this, many billion-dollar conglomerates that want to invest in industry, setting up of industries in India are not willing to do so because there is a provision for them to lease out land but not acquire land. Niti Aayog has come up with a model set of land leasing laws in order to bypass this land acquisition so that some amount of investment can happen in the country. But huge investors look forward to acquiring land, not leasing land, as having the land in their name will safeguard them from the exigencies of complex land laws. And So this some of the big deals that have been affected as a result of land acquisition is nuclear power plants moving out of Gujarat. The POSCO deal from South Korea is on hold, and it probably will not come through anytime soon. So while looking at land, we have to keep in mind that the environmental impact assessment, social impact assessment are crucial in nature, but these cannot be overlooked. We have to look at the cost of the farmers, the indigenous people of the land, their displacement, and all other related social issues. But we cannot also overlook the fact that India is in the prime of a demographic dividend. There is an urgent need for the creation of jobs, and this can be facilitated faster by the setting up of industries and through FDI. So we need to strike a fine balance between promotion of industries and safeguarding the interests of farmers and tribals and indigenous people of the nation. So moving on. Our next issue is bad banks. The name itself is suggestive. So we'll look into what are bad banks and why exactly are they being proposed. Bad banks are nothing but setting up of a separate set of banks that will be managing all the bad assets of banks. So all of us must have heard of this name NPA. It is the current catchphrase in economy, non-performing assets. In case you do not know what a non-performing asset is, I would strongly advise you to go back and look into the definition of a non-performing asset. There are different types of NPAs. Look into what an agricultural NPA is, what is the time period after which any asset is classified as an NPA, etc., etc. Make sure that you're clear about all these definitions, as you can, if any question on NPAs is asked in the mains, a simple definition will serve as an excellent introduction. Also, there can be a question in prelims regarding different types of NPAs. So coming back to bad banks are banks that are set up separately, which will handle only the NPAs of banks. So how will this help banks? By clearing the balance sheet of banks, it will help them in improving their CAR. CAR is nothing but capital adequacy ratio. It is the ratio of the capital to assets. It is an indicator of how well a bank is performing. What is the quality of assets that the bank is having? So if you remove all these NPAs, it will show that the bank is having healthy assets and not NPAs. So that is the main reason why bad banks are being proposed as a resolution mechanism for NPAs. Okay, let us move on to our next topic. Proposal for the suspension of MFN status of Pakistan. So this is again in the news that how can India retaliate against Pakistan? What are the possible actions that we can take? And this has been suggested as one possible proposal. So please refrain from using these as, you know, as a means of taking revenge against Pakistan. This is how India can teach Pakistan as a lesson. Avoid using such colorful language. Please maintain a tone of neutrality. So why we have taken this up is, let us look into what is the meaning of MFN. MFN is nothing but most favored nation. It is the first clause under GATT. GATT means General Agreement on Tariffs and Trades. It is the set of rules that form the foundation of WTO. So the first clause itself talks about MFN. So what exactly is an MFN? It is a statement that a member country cannot discriminate between its trade partners. Any special status that is given to one trade partner must be accorded to all other trade partners. So the name says that most favored nation. So you might think, okay, maybe we are according some special status to any nation, but no, this is the principle of non-discrimination of WTO. So if you accord any special status to a particular nation, the same has to be done for every other nation. India has given the status of MFN to Pakistan way back in 1996 itself. However, Pakistan has not reciprocated the favor. It has not accorded India the MFN status. So let us also look into this balance of trade between India and Pakistan. If we see, India is the one who's actually benefiting between this trade of India and Pakistan. There is a surplus of $1.7 billion in favor of India. So suspending trade links with Pakistan is likely to hurt India more than it will hurt Pakistan. Given the nature of contracting exports worldwide and our dependency on imports, it is imperative that how much ever we can export, we should keep it up. So this is about the balance of trade between India and Pakistan. Going into the political and legal impacts of suspension of MFN status. So India cannot just suspend MFN status and get away with it. It will be Pakistan can raise this issue at the Dispute Settlement Board of WTO. So if you don't know what is the Dispute Settlement Board of WTO, whenever there is any issue and any country feels that there has been a violation of rules or regulations of trade as laid down by the GATT, they can raise the issues at the Dispute Settlement Board, and whatever is the ruling of the DSB, generally it has to be followed by the countries. So India can be questioned at the DSB by Pakistan that why have you revoked this MFN status for us? Here we can use the principle of national security. The GATT provision that any country in the interest of its national security can take any action. It has the leeway to suspend MFN status, etc. But if we invoke this clause saying that, okay, we face some emergency in international relations, hence we have invoked the cause of national security and we have suspended the MFN status of Pakistan. The DSB will perform inquiries and it will subject India will be subject to a lot of inquiries and we have to open up to the DSB. So that this will unnecessarily lead to political and legal hassles. So for now, it is like, given the surplus of trade that is in favor of India and the political and legal hassles that we might have to face at the WTO, it is better to continue our trade relations with Pakistan. Also, whenever avenues of trade are still going on, that means that there is some hope for the aversion of war. So we can try and use trade as an instrument for promoting peace and preventing a war situation. Next, Janani Suraksha Yojana yields benefits. There was a report that stated that the scheme of the government, Janani Suraksha Yojana, has yielded benefits. So whenever there is something like this, it can be useful for quoting as fodder points for essays or in your GS3 answers. Make sure that you know what are the exact findings of the report, and also if you see some schemes like this in the news, make a note of what the scheme is all about if you're not aware of it already. Excuse me. So first, I'll just give you a brief introduction of what this Janani Suraksha Yojana is. It was launched in 2005 as a part of the National Rural Health Mission. It is currently being implemented by the Union Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Its main aim is to reduce maternal and neonatal mortality rates by promoting safe and institutional deliveries. A one-time cash assistance is given to the women. It will help them plan their health needs during the pregnancy period better. This one-time cash assistance is done via DBT. Also, any lags in delaying to access of healthcare are removed with the one-time cash assistance. Now, let us look into the findings of this report. It has stated that more women from the socio-economically backward sections of the society, like OBCs, Dalit, and Muslim women, were availing of the scheme. It stated better statistics for antenatal, safe deliveries, and postnatal care. Antenatal is before the delivery, that is the gestation period. Safe deliveries is the delivery of the baby, and postnatal care is post the delivery of the baby. So this study also showed that there is reduced socio-economic disparity for access to maternal health care between the rich and the poor. That means that with the help of the scheme, more and more poor women are able to get better access to quality healthcare. So in rural areas, this is being implemented majorly at Anganwadis, and the ASHA workers, the accredited social health activists, play an important role in informing the women about what they need to do during their pregnancy, what are the benefits that are available to them, and take care better of themselves in order to give birth to healthy babies. So this is about the Janani Suraksha Yojana. Then we see that the port of Antwerp can be used used as a model for India to develop its waterways. So again, any geographical location, port of Antwerp, it is located in Belgium. See, look it up in the map. You'll see that it is located along a major trade route in Europe. Then, since it is a port, it must be associated with a river body. In this case, the name of the river is River Scheldt. Just keep in mind all these points. This is how you're supposed to perform back linkages. Then we'll go into the benefits of waterways in India. And we'll also have a look at the global comparison, like why are waterways being so emphasized. So if you see China and EU, more than 45% of their transport is conducted via waterways. So that is a huge number. But coming to India, less than 3% of its waterways is less than 3% of its total transport is via waterways. So this is a huge gap, and India, having a large network of rivers, has a good potential for waterways to be developed in a constructive manner. Since we are emphasizing so much on waterways, let us also have a brief look at what are the advantages of waterways. So waterways are said to be highly energy efficient. They also provide great fuel efficiency. That is, 1 liter of fuel that goes into water transport can move much more weight as compared to rail or road. There is also a lesser amount of air pollution that is caused by the use of waterways. We see that there is no requirement for land and capital acquisitions. Like land acquisition is one major impediment for the development of road and railway networks in India. This is a fact we're all well aware about. So if we go to waterways, this problem is automatically solved. So these are the benefits of using waterways. So let us look at some of the factors that are actually hindering the development of waterways in India. So we know that rivers in India are majorly of two types, like the Himalayan rivers and the peninsular rivers. The Himalayan rivers are pretty much perennial in nature, but the peninsular rivers are rain-fed. So the amount of water that is present in these rivers is seasonal. It can change from season to season. It is subject to the exigencies of monsoon. And in water transport, there is one term that is known as drought. It is the minimum depth of water. As you can see, it is right here, drought. It is the minimum depth of water that is required to float a ship. So in case of India, this is one hindering factor. Another thing that we need to look into is dredging. There is a lot of siltation there's a lot of silt that is carried by the river. So frequently the silt has to be removed from the river. This is known as dredging. So drought and dredging are the two things that need to be looked into for the development of waterways in India. So what are the policies? Are there any policies that are around the development of waterways? Yes. The National Waterways Act was passed in 2016. So this basically, it broadly states that the environmental positives of using waterways are pretty high. So India must explore this option. It has also identified 101 potential waterways in India that can be developed. Next, we'll look into waterways which fall under which ministry. Again, whenever there is any policy, except you have to have an idea of which ministry it falls under. In this case, it is a Ministry of Shipping, Road Transport and Highways. and there is also a Inland Waterways Authority of India, which is looking after the implementation of waterways. The Inland Waterways Authority of India, IWAI. So this is a famous map. You might have seen this in the news. So look at the waterways here. National Waterway 1, 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6. Please take a screenshot of this map and try to memorize where each waterways falls. Currently, National Waterway 1, that is from Haldia to Allahabad, and National Waterway 2 from Sadia to Dhubri are fully operational. The rest are in the process of getting operationalized. So please remember this map. It is pretty important. Next, we have the proposal to regulate pension products by setting up of a new committee. So throughout this year, pension has been in the news in one form or the other. So it is important to have a basic idea of the different types of pension in the country and different regulatory bodies that are associated with it. So there are two major schemes for pension, that is EPF, Employee Provident National Pension Scheme. EPF is primarily meant for the organized sector. Any person who is having a salary of 15,000 and above, his EPF will get automatically deducted. 12% of his basic pay is deducted as EPF, and a similar contribution is made by his employer. Coming to NPS, it is primarily for the unorganized sector. Here it is not as strict as EPF, and there is some amount of leeway. Even if you don't make payments for a couple of months, you can you can still get away with it. So in EPF, it is pretty evident that it restricts the liquidity of a person. Okay, this is a major difference between EPF and NPS. They are also administered by different organizations. EPF is administered by the EPFO, Employee Provident Fund Organization, which works under the Ministry of Labor. The NPS works under, is regulated by PFRDA, Pension Fund Regulatory Development Authority, and it works under the Ministry of Finance. Now, coming to the different types of pension products. So these huge amounts of pension that are being collected, they will be invested in different products, like for example, insurance or stock market. So again, there are many different organizations that are overseeing this investments, like SEBI, IRDA, RBI, PFRDA. So the government wants to reduce this complexity and set up a single committee that will be overlooking the regulation of these pension products. So just keep this in mind, and if sometime in the future, if you see that any committee is being set up, make a note of it. Moving on, there is a proposal for disinvestment of CONCOR being reviewed by Niti Aayog. Here we have to focus on this term disinvestment and on CONCOR. CONCOR, as you can see in the picture, stands for Container Corporation of India Limited. It is a public sector undertaking. It is a Navaratna. So for students who are new and who do not have an understanding of what is Navaratna, please go back and look into three definitions: Maharatna, Navaratna and Miniratna. These are extremely important. Look into the definitions and have a look into which public sector holdings are classified into Maharatna, Navaratna and Miniratna. Next. So CONCOR is nothing but the Container Corporation of India Limited. As the name itself is suggestive, they provide logistics support. So they provide these big, huge containers for transportation of goods across the country. They have 64 terminals connecting various ports and industrial corridors. So this Niti Aayog had basically proposed that let us disinvest CONCOR. That is, since it is a government holding, we'll sell some shares of it to private players. But the finance ministry rejected this proposal, saying that it will turn it completely into a private sector holding from a public sector holding. So just remember what is CONCOR, and it works under Ministry of Railways. Next, there is a new IIM going to be set up in Jammu. So given this is in the context of the recent unrest that is going on in the country, you can just suggest this as a policy, like setting up of high level of educational institutions like the IIMs, IITs, NITs, which can provide good employment opportunities for the youth and help integrate them into the society better. So just this is an example, IIM Jammu. Prices of ethanol supplied to public sector oil marketing companies are reduced. So ethanol is supplied to public sector oil marketing companies. So here you need to know, why is ethanol being supplied to oil marketing companies? India has a policy known as ethanol blending program, where there is 1 liter of petrol, 5% of it must be ethanol. This is in order to provide the use of, promote and the use of alternative fuels. As you know, India is extremely dependent on the import of crude oils, and by blending ethanol into petrol, we can reduce the amount of petrol we are importing. Also, we can make an environmentally friendly move, that is by cutting down on the emissions of petrol. So these are the major advantages of ethanol blending. So whenever you see that there is anything import-export related, think about balance of payments. Then please have a look into what exactly is ethanol and how it is produced. This is an activity that I leave it up to you. This forms a part of your basic science and technology. So you should be knowing this. It's a part of your static syllabus. In case you don't know, look into it. What are the effects of reduction of price of ethanol? So primarily, ethanol is a byproduct of the sugarcane industry. So if we reduce the price of procurement of ethanol, the sugarcane farmers are forced to sell ethanol at lower prices to the OMCs. Hence, they might look for alternative sources to sell ethanol to. As you know, ethanol is used in the manufacture of Indian-made foreign liquor. So this can divert the sale of ethanol from OMCs to the IMFL industry. This is one of the effects of reduction in the price of ethanol. Next, moving forward, we see the Nobel Prize in Economics is one for contract theory. So this is a very interesting theory, but I'll not get into the details of this. I'll just give you an example and potential areas of application for the contract theory. It has been won by two people, Oliver Hart and Bengt Holmstrom. I know, very complicated sounding names. Just have a look at it. So in case it is asked somewhere, you can immediately recall. So what exactly is a contract? First, we look into the definition of a contract. A contract is an agreement between two entities where something is done for someone in exchange for something under some circumstances. So that is a lot of sums, because contracts can be of various natures. Most familiar example of a contract is that between an employer and an employee. So this contract theory can help in the development of better contracts. How contracts can be written better so that both parties are satisfied with the outcome. So let us look into an example that the contract theory says that, okay, in this area you can use our theory in order to formulate better contracts. If there is a job of a person that involves a lot of uncertainties, that there are a lot of factors that are outside of his control, then the performance or the output of that person should not be measured totally on the outcome, because there is a lot of risk involved and a lot of factors outside of his control. You cannot attribute the output totally to him. It is not a measure of his or her capabilities. So the contract theory states that whenever there is any high risk job, the pay must not be linked to performance. It should be a stable fixed pay. However, when there is a low risk job without a lot of uncertainties, For example, we can take our government jobs where there's hardly any shakeup. Such jobs must involve performance-based linkages in order to increase the output of the employees. So imagine if you go into a government setup and you say, and you tell all the employees that, okay, from today, your pay will be linked to your performance. Don't you think their efficiency will improve by leaps and bounds? So this is one of the interesting areas of application of contract theory. It goes into other details like theory of incomplete contracts, etc. I don't think they're very essential for us. It is just enough to have this basic understanding. Okay, next, let us go into the Nobel Prize for Literature. So this year's Nobel Prize in Literature has been won by Bob Dylan. He is an American singer and songwriter. So his songs are actually pretty good, and the lyrics are really good. So if you get some time, do listen to them. The reason I'm mentioning this is the first time any singer has won, a songwriter has won the Nobel Prize in Literature. So it is an aberration in the trends, making it a potential UPSC question. Next, this is a very important piece of news, and it has a lot of back linkages to be done. So IEA-EESL partnership to implement LED program at a global level. So here we need to look into what is IEA, what is EESL, where was this announced, why is IEA seeking the partnership of EESL, and what has EESL actually done in India. First, we'll have a look at IEA. IEA stands for International Energy Agency. It is an autonomous international organization, and it was established under OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, in 1974. So basically it acts as a policy advisor on energy for member as well as non-member countries. So you can remember that it deals in the areas of energy efficiency, economic development, and environmental protection. So this is just a broad overview of what IEA is. It also releases an yearly report called the World Energy Outlook. Since reports are very important, keep in mind this fact. Next, we'll move to EESL. EESL is nothing but a joint venture company in India. It is under the Union Ministry of Power, NTPC, PFC, REC, and Power Grid. These four have come together and formed this joint venture of EESL. EESL stands for Energy Efficiency Services Limited. So this EESL is a wonderful organization that has been doing great work in the field of DELP. So government has launched two flagship programs. The first one is called Ujala, Unnat Jyoti by Affordable LEDs for All. It's a little confusing, but please try to remember Ujala. So you can try to link it with that Ujala, Char Bundo Wala and all that. So think of Boond, and you can see this LED bulb that is in the shape of a drop. So Ujala is nothing but light, and LEDs. So DELP is Domestic Efficiency Lighting Program. So it aims at the reduction in the usage of incandescent bulbs in households and promotion of use of LEDs. LEDs, as we know, are more energy efficient and environmentally friendly as well. Just have a look at these facts. It uses only 9 watts. It is cool, it is eco-friendly, and there is no UV or IR. It is water resistant, etc. So just look at this picture, try to remember it. In case you are asked about the advantages of LEDs, you can directly cross-link with these and write a good answer. So now we know what is DELP, what is Ujala, what is LED. Next, DELP has been implemented by EESL. It has successfully reduced the price of a single LED from rupees 310 per unit to rupees 55 per unit. This is a huge reduction, and it is one of the major factors that has facilitated the switchover of bulbs from incandescent bulbs to LEDs by the common people. So being extremely impressed by this work that has been done by EESL, IEA has chosen EESL to partner it at a global level for the implementation of this LED program. So where did this happen? This declaration took place at the World Sustainable Development Summit. The World Sustainable Development Summit is nothing but a summit that has been organized by TERI, the Energy Resources Institute in India. So this is a platform where many intellectual people, academia, media, activists, leaders come together and debate about the future of the world and implementation of sustainable development goals, impact of the Paris Pact, etc. So just remember World Sustainable Development Summit. Okay, this is all about the IEA-EESL partnership. The next piece of news is also very interesting. Air India has become profitable for the first time in 8 years. So we have been seeing these quotes that Air India is loss making, and we have seen this example being given in the economic survey as well. That is why I thought it's better to mention this. In case you have missed this piece of news, please keep in mind that Air India has posted operational profit now. It is no longer loss making. Since we are at this news, let us quickly take a look at the reasons why Air India has become profitable. One of the main reasons is the sharp decline in the prices of aviation turbine fuel. ATF is nothing but the petrol for the planes. Because of the decrease in the global crude oil prices, the ATF prices have also fallen, and this has helped Air India in posting profits. Also, there has been a marginal increase in the number of people flying with Air India. This has also contributed to enhancing its profitability. Okay, and yeah, let's move on. Now we are moving into the international relations part. Again, I will not go into the history of IR, as you'll have to go through your static portions for it, and going into the history will take a lot of time. I'll just mention what are the important points to be noted. So US has lifted economic sanctions on Myanmar. US had imposed economic sanctions on Myanmar 20 years ago. Now, with the coming in of a democratic government that is led by Aung San Suu Kyi, US no longer sees reasons for continuing with these sanctions, and they have extended their hand of friendship to Myanmar. This is also a part of USA's Pivot East policy. Next, the UN Secretary General. A new UN Secretary General has been elected. It is Mr. Antonio Guterres. So I just thought I'll mention how is the UN Secretary General elected. Many of you might have this misconception that he's elected directly by the United Nations General Assembly. No, the name of the UN Secretary General is actually proposed by the UN Security Council. Here also the P5 can exercise their veto. So if any member of the P5 has a problem with the name of the Secretary General, they can directly veto it. So once the UNSG approves or decides on any person, then the matter goes to the UN General Assembly and they just ratify the name of the Secretary General. So how long does this person function as the UNSG? He basically works for a period of 5 years, and this is renewable. Generally, it is extended to 2 terms. Next, we'll look at the Saudi war in Yemen. This is a very complex issue, and it will take a lot of time to get into the details. We are doing a special video on the crisis and conflicts in Middle East that will give you a very comprehensive understanding of the issues that are plaguing the Middle East and what are the different factions that are involved. The situation around is evolving. It keeps changing daily. But having an understanding of that history, you will be able to keep yourself updated with the current issue and understand what exactly is the problem at hand. So here you just have to remember that the Houthi rebels ethnic are an ethnic community belonging to Yemen. So just remember, Houthi rebels are from Yemen. That is because a question had been asked about Rohingya Muslims from Myanmar in the prelims. So I'm just mentioning Houthis are from Yemen. Next, an extremely important piece of news: India-Russia agro-irradiation centers. So why do we need these agro-irradiation centers, and between whom has this deal been signed? So this part is not very important, but just have a look at this box so that in case any question is asked, you can answer easily. So why are these agro-irradiation centers needed? Agro-irradiation centers are nothing but places where agricultural produce is subjected to radiation in order to increase its shelf life. So why exactly are we doing this? Studies have shown that 40 to 50% of the agricultural produce of India is going waste due to microbiological infestations, exposure to atmospheric conditions, sprouting, etc. As you can see in this picture, sprouting of onions, potatoes, meat going bad have caused huge losses in terms of agricultural output. In a country where we are still struggling to provide 3 meals a day to a majority of our population, if 40 to 50% of the agricultural output is going waste, it is a matter of grave injustice. Some action has to be taken. That is why these agro-irradiation centers have been proposed to be set up in the country. By subjecting these vegetables, spices, meat to low and medium dose of radiations, we can increase their shelf life and hence ensure that distributive justice takes place. So you might be wondering, subjecting these products, these eatables to irradiation, will it make it unsafe for human consumption? No. According to the guidelines that have been issued by IAEA, these are completely safe. The International Atomic Energy Agency prescribes these doses of radiations which render the food safe for human consumption. So the deal has been signed between India Agriculture Association, Hindustan Agro Cooperation Limited from India side, and on Russia side we have United Innovation Corporation, a subsidiary of Rosatom. Next, Maldives quits the Commonwealth. This is another important piece of news in the international arena. I'll present a few facts that are important. Then we'll just take a brief look at the reasons for Maldives quitting. So in 2011, presidential elections had taken place in Maldives, and the ex-president Mohammad Nasir has been convicted on charges of terrorism. So many of the international countries are feeling that he has been wrongfully convicted, and they are trying to impose restrictions of Maldives. However, Maldives feels that this is a matter that is internal to its country, and the other nations of the world must not meddle in its affairs. It has said that this goes against the very basis on which the Commonwealth of Nations and the United Nations have been formed. Hence, as a sign of protest, it has left the Commonwealth grouping. So let us take a look at this Commonwealth grouping. What is its history? What are the number of members? What is the objective behind its formation? And where are the headquarters located? So, as you can see in this map, the members of the Commonwealth nation are present across the globe in all the 6 continents that have human inhabitation on it. So, the Commonwealth of Nations was formed in 1949 by the signing of the London Treaty. There are 52 members in the Commonwealth grouping post the quitting of Maldives. Before Maldives quit, Gambia was the other nation that quit the Commonwealth of Nations. So the objective of Commonwealth of Nations is very broad, like international peace and justice and better relations among the countries, etc. The Queen of England, who is currently the monarch, is considered as the head of the Commonwealth grouping. The headquarters of this Commonwealth of Nations is at Marlborough House in London. Next, India receives first parcel of oil from Iran for its strategic storage reserves. So India is building an underground network of storage for storing of crude oil. So as we know, India is highly dependent on imports for crude oil, and in order to mitigate any crisis or emergency situation, this underground network of reserves is being set up right now. It is being set up at 3 locations, that is Mangalore, Vishakhapatnam and Padur, which is near Udupi. So these 3 locations will store around 38 million barrels of crude oil. So you might be thinking 38 million barrels of crude oil will last us for a long time. No, it can last our current energy consumption only for 2 weeks. So you can imagine how much is the consumption of fossil fuels, how dependent India is on fossil fuels, and what is the huge amount of emissions that we are doing every single day. So just remember the location of the storage reserves and the importance of this strategic storage reserve. Next, Israel cuts ties with UNESCO over the draft Jerusalem resolution. So this is something that is political and controversial in nature. So we'll look into the brief background of this issue and see how we can link it to geography, because UPSC will not ask any questions that are political in nature. So there is a hilltop compound in Jerusalem that is sacred to both Muslims as well as Jews. However, this resolution of UNESCO mentions only the Islamic name. That means that it is not identifying the fact that Israel also holds this place in very high regard. So upset by this, Israel has decided to cut off all its ties with UNESCO. So what is this location? It's in Jerusalem's old city, and the Jewish name of this holy location is Temple Mount. The Islamic name is Al-Haram Al-Sharif, or Noble Sanctuary. The Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Golden Dome of the Rock are the 3rd holiest sites for the people of Islam after Mecca and Medina. This is also considered as the holiest site for Judaism. So just remember Temple Mount or Noble Sanctuary. And it is located in Jerusalem's old city. So earlier also Israel had some problems with UNESCO when UNESCO approved the membership of Palestine. So I'll not go into the history of Israel and Palestine here. But I think if you remember about the geography of this location, this news is well dealt with in the perspective of UPSC. Okay, this is not directly related to the exam. The Ministry of Commerce has launched an enhanced foreign trade data dashboard. So nobody is going to ask a question who has launched this data dashboard. The reason I'm mentioning this here is it is a very useful website for all aspirants in terms of prelims or mains. They have an import view, an export view, a balance of trade view. So it shows exactly how India is trading with all other countries. How much are we importing? What are we importing? How much are we exporting? What are we exporting? So if you can see in this is one of the diagrams that I picked to show you as an example. These are the top commodities for our import. What is the amount that we are importing? What are the top ports? What are the top ports, inland, sea or air, from where trade takes place? And what is the volume of trade that is going on from here? All these are presented in a very visually pleasing manner and an easy to remember way. So if you can supplement your answers with these facts, it will be of great value. Also, just have a look at the trends of the trade of India with other nations. In case any question related to that is asked in the prelims, it can be very useful. You can answer it quickly. So just have a look at this enhanced foreign trade data dashboard. Next, we have the second Rashtriya Samskriti Mahotsav that is being celebrated by the Ministry of Culture. So this is an event that wants to showcase the rich cultural heritage of our country within different dimensions. It includes handicrafts, paintings, sculptures, folk art performance, tribal arts, classical and contemporary arts. Then you have sculpture, photography, etc. All this in one place. So you can use this as like initiatives taken by the government in order to promote promote cultural feelings or increase the cultural connect amongst the current generation, etc., and to explore and showcase the rich and varied traditions of India. This is the initiative taken by the government. So you can use these as fodder points in your essays, answers. And moving to our next topic, we have Ministry of Culture celebrates birth centenary of Nanaji Deshmukh. So whenever there is any anniversary, it is better to have an idea of what it is about. So Nanaji Deshmukh was a social activist from India who worked in the fields of education, health, and rural self-reliance. He has been honored with the Padma Vibhushan by the Government of India. He was a leader of Bharatiya Janasangh and a member of the Rajya Sabha. So I think these facts are enough to remember about this. Let us move on to our next topic. Women of India Festival 2016 of Organic Products. So this is organized by the Women of Child and Development. So it is a platform for rural women all over India to come and showcase their organic products for sale. This is encouraging women entrepreneurship, development, women empowerment, etc., etc. So another point to be noted here is that whenever there is organic products, there is a tendency to limit oneself to organic food. Remember, this spans a wide variety of products like fabrics, furniture, wellness, and personal care products as well. So don't just say that organic products is equal to organic foods. There are other aspects to it as well. Next, this Harikatha. This is related to arts and culture, and this picture is actually showing it as this is a dying art form. But I just put this picture here. Actually, it is the opposite of that. This art form is in the process of revival. Recently, a Harikatha Saptaham had been organized in Srikakulam in Andhra Pradesh, and it met with a resounding response. There was a lot of interest generated, especially amongst the youth, and hence we can say that this Harikatha this art form is being revived again slowly. So let us take a look into what exactly this Harikatha is. It is a form of Hindu religious discourse. It consists of storytelling, poetry, music, drama, dance, and philosophy. Basically everything, and any Hindu religious theme can be the subject for it. It is a popular medium of entertainment, and it was used to transmit cultural, educational, and religious values to the masses. So now it is again getting popular slowly by the organization of this Harikatha Saptaham. Okay, our next topic is INS Sumitra visits Surabaya, Indonesia. So again, this is a place, Surabaya, Indonesia. Have a look at it in the map. So I have put the map here. Surabaya is located here. So you can see where is the equator, etc., etc. Just this is the equator. So it is below the equator. Just have an idea of where it is located. India and Indonesia carried out joint naval exercises. Then this INS Sumitra is important because it was used for Operation Rahat in Yemen. This was an operation in which Indian government and armed forces were praised in international forums, because they rescued not only the Indian nationals who were caught up in the war in Yemen, they also rescued people belonging to other countries. Basically, it was an act of humanity. So INS Sumitra was used in Operation Rahat. Next, we have the first World Tsunami Awareness Day to be celebrated at AMCDRR. This is the Asian Ministerial Conference for Disaster Risk Reduction. This is being conducted in Delhi. This is the World Tsunami Awareness Day will be on 5th November 2016. So this is to spread awareness amongst the people about tsunamis and how to mitigate this disaster better. You can quote this as a point for your GS3 or GS4 or essays as well. So this was the last slide, and we have come to an end of our first video lecture. I hope you found this useful and informative, and going forward you are able to analyze current affairs and news in a better and more comprehensive exam-centric manner. If you liked our video and would like to watch more such videos in the future, please like, share, subscribe. We would also like to hear from you. Let us know your feedback and comments in the comment section below. As of the extreme importance of bricks, we have done a special coverage of bricks. Along with it, we are giving you BeamStack also. So please do check out the video. BRICS has been asked very frequently by UPSC. It is a favorite for UPSC to ask questions related to BRICS. And this year, the summit of BRICS was held in India in Goa. So it assumes extreme importance. And please make sure that you go through this video that will enable you to tackle any question effectively. Keep learning. Thank you.